Hi guys, hope you're doing well. This place did look very different 17 years ago, and this is the second part of building a house in Thailand series. In this episode we'll be talking about design. I know a lot of guys are planning to build. I'll be giving you tips, my thought processes and my mistakes, and believe me, if it wasn't for a certain brand of vodka, this house would have been an unmitigated disaster. Cue the backstory. Back in 1999, I was a backpacker, and yes, I wore idiot pants. I was one of those. I put my hands up. I met a girl, fell in love with the country, had a kid.
Love your daddy, don't you? Ooh.
A couple of years later, I was sitting down at a kitchen table with a blank piece of paper in front of me, designing my dream home. I went through some crazy designs that made my builder gawp. I went through hundreds and hundreds of different plans until I found the one plan that was going to be the dream home. And it was only after a vodka fuel session 2 days before the build was to commence that I realised that the plan was kind of rubbish. The kitchen and dining room were too small. That kitchen, the one where I do my cooking segments, that did not exist. There were too many toilets, there was too much open area, there were too many entrances and levels, there was bits of wooden bar sticking out here, the floor levels were completely wrong, and the ceiling heights. The only thing I got right was the size of the bedrooms. Not the height, but the size. So over the next 24 hours, I completely changed the plan, and I have this bottle of vodka to thank for giving me that epiphany and making the house I have today. My best bit of advice to anybody starting a house design would be concentrate on primary living areas. These are areas that you and your family are going to spend most of your time. The dining room, the kitchen, the bedrooms. Do not get caught up in the minutiae of house design as I did, of where your pool table is going to go. Have you got enough room for your queuing arm? Where your telescope's going to be set up? Where your home movie theatre is going to be? Just concentrate on the primary areas first, and then the rest of your plan will fall into place, believe me. Right, just to illustrate how close I was to a bit of a disaster in terms of this house. Just jump up on the daybed here. So yes, this kitchen didn't exist, and our whole kitchen dining area would have been this 4-meter square area with a little dining room table and a small kitchen countertop, completely inadequate. So I know a guy who built a 5-meter by 5-meter custom karaoke room. Do they still use it 5 years later? No. Does his wife still nag him every single day about the size of their kitchen? Yes. If it looks a mess on paper, there's a very high chance it's going to be a mess in reality. Wood bars jutting out here. I had entrances, exits, randomly. I mean, I had a toilet in that corner. Where you live is also a factor in how simple your design should be. If you live in Bangkok or Chiang Mai, the big cities, you have access to architects, designers. If you live in the sticks, in rural areas, villages, as I do, your options are limited, and this goes down to doing your homework on your builder. Go and see what houses he's built, what he can do. We saw a house that he'd done previously with split levels. The columns or posts behind me, that was his thing. He was a notch above the rest of the builders in this area. And yes, they used to come around, the other builders, for some whiskey and nosy around the place, and they did say they could not have built this house. So yes, do your homework, find out what your builder's limitations are, and design your house accordingly. Be aware of what is around you, nature-wise, climate, topography, sunrises, sunsets. It was a huge influence, the prevailing wind that comes from the southwest, and it flows through this house pretty much all throughout the year. Massive influence on this open area, which is predominantly un-air-conned. Now, pre-vodka revelation, it was actually more open than this. I did find ways to have the best of both worlds, as it were, but we'll go into that later. But yes, this area is set up for the prevailing wind and also the mountain view. Now, this is a matter of taste. I mean, if you want to wake up in the morning to a mountain view, you would build your bedrooms, I don't know, where my kitchen is, I suppose. Personally, I'd kept the bedrooms at the back, which is a dead area. They're just air-conned and, yeah, pretty much for sleeping. So yeah, bear this in mind. Take in your surroundings, take in what's around you, and yeah, it will have a huge influence on your design. Natural light, that's a little bit of a tricky one. Tricky because, yeah, it's very difficult to judge how light is going to affect your interior from a floor plan. And with this area here, it's basically a kids' living TV area. We've got their 2 bedrooms over there. I could see from the floor plan it could be an issue. We've got 3 walls surrounding it, and it was in the middle of the house. We ended up trying to put some glass bricks up on the wall there, but yeah, we've got a room behind and trees beyond that, so there's not a lot of light coming through there. So if you think you're going to have an issue, there are options. You can put skylights in, but it wasn't really suitable for this design. Or you can put windows up above the door line there. And yeah, mirrors. Wasn't expensive, £70. Not only does it make the house feel bigger, it reflects light into this room. And concerning the kitchen and dining room, when they first put windows in, it looked too small. The ceiling here is pretty high, and it just looked like there wasn't enough light coming in. So yeah, we ended up putting bigger windows in to negate that. I love options in house design. You never know what's going to happen in life. Option 1, nice and open and airy. Option 2 is closed off, aircon areas, or even a 5th bedroom. This room behind me is the inner sanctum. This is where all the magic happens. But it could be like this, or like this. And if we head through here, this area can be completely open, or it can be closed off into its own separate guest area. This door can be locked, and you have an ensuite, comfortable sized bedroom, place to have a cup of coffee, and living area with TV. Yes, a happy guests, and my wife and I, we moved to another double bedroom. While guests are there, primarily my parents, who used to stay 4 to 6 weeks, but when they're gone, you open the house back up. Options. If you can incorporate options into your house design, go for it, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to have more kids, you're going to have people staying with you long term. Always good to have in your design if possible. This is a matter of taste. I had seen this style in a resort we stayed at, and my builder had built a house with a couple of different levels. I sort of went overboard. I've got about 7 different levels in this house. I personally think it gives each room character and individuality. I was aware that my builder could execute this kind of building technique, even though it looks quite complicated. They managed it perfectly well. And the levels do increase as you head down to the kitchen and dining room area, and it gives the dining room quite an impressive feel with the high ceiling. And the bedrooms are just normal height, so you're not going to have an extravagant electric bill. It is a matter of taste. I mean, I can't imagine it as just one flat area now. If you want to do it and you're confident that your builder can execute it, go for it. The design process does not finish even though your house has started being built. Try to be on site daily if you can. If not, try and get some sort of Skype call or daily video log of your build, so you can actually discuss with your partner any changes that have to be made before it's too late. As with our kitchen windows, if we hadn't been there that day, it would have cost us a fortune to change the whole lot. As it was, they'd only put in a couple of windows and we were able to change them to a bigger size without too much extra cost. Same with the glass bricks. We also added a water tank, a back terrace, a roof terrace, and a circular drive as the build commenced. Well, final thoughts. Get yourself a bottle of Absolute. No, that's terrible. Shouldn't be drinking copious amounts of alcohol, even though it did give me some kind of epiphany. It does have a place in the dining room, his own shrine for that night of revelation. On a more serious note, yes, it can be quite daunting designing your house, but also very rewarding, and hopefully some of these tips have helped those of you that are in the process of designing or going to design your own home. And if it helps at all, yeah, job done. And yeah, there will be part 3. There's quite a lot to cram in, and I'm keeping them short because apparently, according to YouTube analytics, most people lose the will or dive out the window after 10 minutes, depending how bad the videos are, I suppose. And I will be revealing the paint that I use for this house. The anticipation, the excitement. Well, to be honest, yeah, I haven't had to repaint this place in 17 years, so, you know, it might be useful information to somebody. I will be going over other stuff that's useful and helped me while I was building and designing a house here in Thailand. So, yeah, Watch out for episode 3. News update and phrase a day will return after this series. It doesn't really fit this vlog type. So on that note, I'm going to say stay safe, stay well, and from Bob and myself, you thought I'd forgotten, there he is. He hasn't done much, to be honest, for the last week, but anyway, we'll say stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you in part 3.